Hey everybody, it's Kira and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag. I've done this the past couple of years. It's kind of a classic around booktube, so I'm just going to answer a couple different questions about how my reading has been going so far this year. Okay, so let's get into the questions. So the first question is the best book you've read so far in 2020. And okay, it's always really hard to pick it. But I'm either going to say Don't Read the Comments by Eric Smith because it's such a cute book and it's really fun and it has a lot, because it's about these two people who meet through online gaming and then therefore become friends. And it's so much fun and I loved it a lot, and there's a lot of like geek references, which I didn't get like all of them because I'm not really a gamer at all, but it was still a lot of fun to be able to read it. So either that or I just finished Aurora Rising by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, which was so good. I had been hearing, okay, so when this book first came out, the only thing I remember hearing about it is something to do with like somebody's dad was a pilot and they were trying to live up to that. And that's all I can remember hearing about it from like everybody on BookTube. That's not at all what this book is about. So basically this book has an amazing found family. And there's this girl who is supposed to go on this like not colonizing trip, but she's supposed to like help colonize this other planet where they already have a colony set up, but she's like supposed to go and continue to help them. She's going to be a cartographer, but ends up getting stranded in cryo and stuck in space for like 200 years. And so that her name is Aurora, and so this guy named Tyler ends up rescuing her out of, it's called the Fold, in space, and it's basically like the wormhole ways that they jump through space. And so she gets pulled she finally gets rescued 200 years after she was supposed to have landed on this planet. And she comes into this world of different planets, different species, and gets pulled into this crazy adventure. There's a lot of things, people with powers, different kinds of aliens, they're on the run, they have to do a heist. Like, it is so good. And so I don't know what I do know where the idea about the dad being a pilot comes from, because Tyler's dad was like a really famous star pilot, but I feel like that's not the main point of the story. So if you like found family and you like sci-fi, read this book. It's so good. Okay, so the second question is the best sequel you've read so far in 2020. And like, okay, these are both sequels in the same series, so we're gonna count it. So this is This Shattered World, and this one is Their Fractured Light, by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. So I read the Starbound trilogy for the first time this year, and the first book is like okay, but then the second book is really good, and then the third book is also really good. So the second book follows two characters who are on opposite sides of a war, and through different circumstances end up meeting and kind of have to come to an understanding and like try and find peace in this war and try and like help stop the war. And then the third book has these two characters who are both kind of like con men kind of thing. So Sophie, they both meet trying to infiltrate this facility, and they end up helping each other. They don't know each other before they meet, but they end up trying to help each other to get out of this situation. And then like all the characters from the first two books also show up in this one, so you have like the resolution of everything. So I like fell in love with the Starbound trilogy this year, and both sequels were definitely better than the first books. They're definitely the best sequels I've read this year. So question 3 is a new release that you haven't read yet, but you want to. And for me, that is A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. This just came out like a couple of weeks ago, and I'm so excited to have it. This cover is so cool. And honestly, I don't know much about it, and the inside flap is like very slightly confusing, but it's basically the two main characters are in a contest of some sort, but they're trying to kill each other, but secretly. I don't know, it's something along those lines, but it sounds really interesting, and also like it just sounds so cool, and I'm very excited to read it. So number 5 is the biggest disappointment so far this year. And I don't really have disappointing reads, but I guess Beautiful Ruins would count as a disappointing read. So I didn't know anything going into this book, really, what it was about, except that it was something to do with 1962 and Hollywood. So it's, I've talked about this, I don't remember which month, it would have been my April wrap-up. I talked about this book, and it's very polarizing because on the one hand, it was very well done in the sense of timelines and how different characters' stories blended together, because we jump between different characters and different storylines, but also different timelines, and so we have some stuff happening in the past and some stuff happening in the present, which is 2012 is the present day. So, like, that was really well done, but there was a lot of aspects about this book that I didn't really like. The way that it talked about women just in general, and the way that it talked about sex, like, constantly. It was just very annoying and distracting, and I didn't appreciate it. So, I don't know. I guess this is the most disappointing book. I tend to not read books that I don't think I will like, so I feel like disappointing books don't happen to me very often, but I think this would be the most disappointing book so far this year. So number 6 is the biggest surprise so far, and I mean, Aurora Rising I think would have to count as the biggest surprise. Again, like, I feel like a lot of times I typically know what I'm getting into when I read books, and I don't tend to read books that I don't think I will like, but Aurora Rising, I've been hearing a lot of good things, or I know that it was really hyped last year when it came out, and I know the second book just came out recently, and so I put the audiobook on hold because Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff's audiobooks are usually really good, and I didn't realize, but it's a full cast narration, so, like, the audiobook is amazing. But I was surprised at how much I really fell in love with it. And the same kind of thing goes for the book With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. I know that she narrates her audiobooks because I just listened to, well, I knew that she did it for The Poet X, and so I just listened to that on audio, and I was like, oh, I haven't read her other books yet, so I put them on hold through Libby, and With the Fire on High came in for me on hold. And so I listened to it, and, like, first of all, she's a really great narrator. Her books are written in verse, and so she, like, knows how she wants the books to sound, so it makes sense that for the author to be the narrator. But also, like, I didn't know anything about this book going into it, which I guess just contradicts my earlier statements about knowing what I'm getting into. Anyways, but I really enjoyed it. The main character is a single mother, but she's also a teen mother, so she's in her senior year of high school and has a little girl. And I just thought it was so cool because I've never, ever read about a character like that. But she was also, like, a really sassy character and loved cooking. Like, the book focused a lot on her cooking ability. And so it was cool to, like, see her journey go from, like, I don't know, being sure of herself, but also not really taking direction well, to then learning how to, like, cook for people in a restaurant. And just seeing her journey throughout the story was really cool. And so I really appreciated it and had a lot of fun. So I guess that would also be a big surprise for this year so far. Alright, number 7 is your favorite new author, which could be debut author or new to you. And I'm going to do new to you author, and I'm going to say Ta-Nehisi Coates. He wrote Between the World and Me, which is the only book I've read so far of his, but I just read it last week, and it was incredible. And I'm definitely going to check out more of his books. So Between the World and Me is just, like, these 3 letters that he's kind of writing to his son, explaining what it's like to be Black in America. And I think the book is from 2015. And it was really well done. I really appreciated it. And I know that he has written a couple of other books, so I'm really interested in reading more of his books. Also, part of the reason he's my new favorite author is because I honestly haven't read a lot of new authors this year. I've had so many rereads this year, and or just, like, new books from authors I'd read before, so there wasn't a huge lot to pick from. I'm really interested in hearing more of what he has to say. Okay, number 8 is the newest fictional crush, and I feel like I don't have one, which I think I said last year too. I guess, like, Nick Malikoff from Gemina is like the closest I could get, but it's not a new fictional crush because I read those books last year as well, or 2 years ago. I don't even remember when I first read those books. But yeah, I feel like I don't have any new fictional crushes. I don't know. I guess like the closest one would be Gilbert Blythe from Anne of Green Gables, but more specifically from Anne with an E, because I watched that show this year and like fell in love with the show. It's so cute, and Anne and Gilbert are just amazing. So, but other than that, like I don't have any like fictional crushes. I don't know. I feel like I'm almost getting too old for that in a way, but we're just gonna move on. So number 9 is your newest favorite character, and I think both pairs of characters from these two books really got me. I love a good sassy relationship, and so I feel like Gideon and Sophia like definitely had the sass going, and like Flynn and Lee, their relationship was just so interesting because they were on opposite sides of the war, and I found like all 4 of these characters like very intriguing. I kind of wish that Gideon and Sophia had had a little bit more time to develop, because a lot of this book is focused on like finishing off everything that's happened in the past 2 books, because it's the last book in a trilogy. So it's kind of hard introducing 2 new characters, but I love the sass that they have between them, and I don't know, just I really loved both pairs of these characters a ton. Number 10 is a book that made you cry, and that for me was definitely Only Child by Rhiannon Navin. This is a book about a school shooting, but it's more specifically about one family's reactions and like the aftermath of it. So you follow the point of view of Zach, and Zach is a 1st grader. He has an older brother named Andy who's in 5th grade, and one day at school, Andy is killed by a gunman who comes to their school. So the book just follows Zach's point of view through the day of the shooting, but more so like in like the months after the shooting, and how his parents and him both deal with the loss of Andy. It's because it's told from the point of view of a 6-year-old. The sentence structure is like very simple, and it goes off on lots of tangents, and you as a reader, especially as an older reader, are able to understand more of the complexities of what's going on than like Zach is actually picking up on. But he is a lot smarter than I think his parents give him credit for, and so he does like lash out, and he has a lot of PTSD and like has to figure out a way for himself to be able to function and deal with everything that happened as well. Oh my goodness, I was sobbing at the end of this book. It was just such a really like interesting and good read. Definitely hard, but like a good read, and yeah, it definitely made me cry multiple times while reading this book. On the flip side, number 11 is a book that made you happy, and I have 2 reread series for this one. So one of them is the Gallagher Girls series by Allie Carter. So I reread this series mostly because I hadn't read them in forever. So this first one is I Tell You I Love You, But Then I'd Have to Kill You. And these books are so fun, and I need a TV show for the series. Stats, I know I've said it before, but I'm gonna keep saying it. This follows our main character's name is Cammie, and she goes to a secret school for spies that's girls only. And the first 2 books kind of follow her. So it starts when she's sophomore year, when she's 15 years old. And so the first 2 books are more focused on like her having this secret relationship with a boy who doesn't know that she's secretly a spy, and like kind of figuring that out. But after that, the books start to take a darker turn, and you start to learn more about how Cammie's dad disappeared, and there's this secret organization that is targeting one of the Gallagher girls, and so you have to figure out like what's going on with that. And there's a lot of really fun spy stuff involved, and it's just so good. And it was just so much fun to like dive back into this world, and it really made me want a TV show. And then the other book that made me happy is The Illuminate Files by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. So I reread all 3 of these books, but I reread them in audiobook format, which I have never done. I hadn't done audio for these books. And like I said earlier, it's a full cast narration, and so this series is so much fun to read, either physically or audiobook. Honestly, you can't really go wrong. So it was a lot of fun to just hear like the different voices for the different characters. Of course, Aiden shows up in all 3 books, and so you have like the same voice for Aiden. When different characters show up in different books, you have like those voice actors that come back. There's like sound effects for some of the stuff. So in Gemina, there's that one Lollipop song that is like a virus, the computer virus that gets played on the ship. And so they like made a little part of the song so they could play it when it like comes over the loudspeakers and stuff. So it was just so much fun, and it just made me so happy. I mean, like, these books are definitely not like super happy books, but I just like the overall experience in reading these books on audio was just so much fun. So number 12 is the most beautiful book you've bought or received this year so far. And like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to beat A Song of Wraiths and Ruin because like this cover is so cool and so gorgeous. But then I also got We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faizal this year. I read this in December of last year, but this cover is also just really cool. So I think like these are two of the best covers I have now. The only other one that I could maybe say so is A Song Below Water, which I'm also very excited about. And this cover is just like so epic, and I'm just so happy that I have so many beautiful books. Oh, I skipped a question, that's why. I know what's wrong. I skipped a question. Go me. That's why I was confused. Okay, so number 4, skipping way back, is most anticipated releases for the second half of the year. So I have a couple. One of them, like the one I'm obviously most excited about, is A Sky Beyond Storm, which is Ember Book 4. I cannot wait for this book. I mean, I'm terrified because I need my people to be okay at the end of the series. But I'm so excited to find out what happens to Laia and Elias, and I really want everything to turn out okay. And it's more Ember, so I'm just very excited about that. Another book that I'm very excited about is A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor. This is a sequel to An Absolutely Remarkable Thing, and I definitely need to reread Art before I can read this one because I don't remember anything that happened in that book. But I am very excited to find out what happens, because especially with the end, the way that Art ended, I do remember that. It was very weird, and you're kind of like confused. How does that happen to have a second book? So I'm excited to just dive back into that kind of world and also see what else Hank has to say about like the world around us in general. And then the last book is Empire of Gold. I'm so excited for this book too. This book comes out, I think, at the end of this month. It just came out in the UK, but I'm pretty sure in the US it comes out at the end of this month. And so I need to find out what happened to my characters and if they're okay. And especially the way the Kingdom of Copper ends. Like, I don't remember, like, all of the stuff within the book, but that ending I do remember. And, like, I really need Nari and Ollie to be okay. And, like, for everything to turn out okay. And so I, like, cannot wait to read this book. So those are 3 books that I'm very excited to read in the second half of the year. Okay, now we'll get back to the last question, which is number 13. Books that you need to read before the end of the year. So, I mean, I have to read A Song of Wraiths and Ruin, definitely. And also A Song Below Water. I don't know much about this book other than it's something to do with best friends who are mermaids, which, I mean, sounds epic, so that's just amazing. And then the other one is War Girls, which I believe the sequel comes out in like October, I think I saw somewhere. Again, I don't know much about this, other than the beginning of this thing says the year is 2172, and that's all I need to know. So this cover is also epic, and I just like need to read this before the end of the year. So, I mean, I've got 50 books I think that I own that I haven't read yet, so I have a lot of books I want to read, but those are definitely books plus the anticipated sequels that I want to read before the end of the year. So yeah, that's it. That is the end of the mid-year book freakout tag. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Comment down below, let me know what you guys are most excited about for the second half of the year. Hopefully it goes a little bit better than like the first half of this year, because this year has been absolutely insane. So who knows what the second half of the year will hold. But yeah, thanks for watching this video. If you want to follow me on social media, all my links will be in the description as always. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!